Hi there, nice to see you again. I'm Eddie.
I'm Eugene.
And we are
Middle-aged Barbarians.
Today we're going to continue to talk about with a couple of builds that we made, expressing the archetypes we talked in previous episodes. We're going to speak of them broadly, and we're going to put a link so you can download the proper stats that we made for each of these builds. So I hope you enjoy.
All right, so did you bring your homework? I did.
I think I did, but as you can see, I'm more of a vibes role-playing thing, and you're more mechanics. So.
Well, like Eddie mentioned, we had some homework from the previous episode, and we each decided to bring in a couple of builds to share with you about the classes we like the most. Did you do your homework?
Barely, but I think we'll be all right. We'll manage.
All right. So the first class I want to share with you guys, I'm going to mess with the producer and have him maybe put something up here very pretty where you can see the character sheet here.
Got it.
All right. Is actually a character that I played, sadly, for only a couple of sessions with a group of friends, and that is the rogue, but with the arcane trickster subtype or subclass, which I thought was really cool. I enjoyed it a lot.
So, which role would you say it plays of the categories we talked about?
Well, when I made my rogue, even though the arcane trickster has a bunch of magical options like illusions and stuff that he can cast and use, and obviously, you'll see. I mean, the build isn't optimized perhaps to being the perfect striker. I did have damage dealing in mind when I made it. So, I mean, the rogue has a bunch of cool features. I have my cheat sheet right here. They're very skill heavy. I mean, a couple of the things that they get are expertise, that they can add their proficiency to other skills. Icing on the cake for any rogue is sneak attack. Now, for those of you that don't know, sneak attack is a special ability that rogues have that when they have advantage on an attack, they can add extra dice to their damage. How do you get advantage, you may ask, which you did not. They can either flank, have an ally next to the enemy, and that would give them the advantage, or provoke certain conditions that would give them advantage in battle. And I think it's a long play, because it does take a while to get up to level 13, but they have a beautiful thing called Mage Hand Legerdemain. I hate pronouncing these things, man. They're so confusing.
Legerdemain? I don't know how it's pronounced as well.
Legerdemain. And they can use Mage Hand as an arcane trickster, and the Mage Hand can provoke opportunity attacks for them, or advantage on their attacks, rather. So it's kind of cool, because they not only get like cunning action lets them take a bonus action where they can disengage, they can dash, they can hide, like a move-based action. They have evasion, which can keep a rogue alive when the evil wizard casts fireball, because evil wizards, like sorcerers, only cast fireballs.
That's your DM being lazy and not wanting to abuse of you and using proper spells to kill you.
It's cool. And I mean, like I mentioned, the arcane trickster has access to a bunch of different spells. I'll mention the spells a little later on, because really I kind of tailored this build to use 2 spells in particular. Did I say that right? 2 spells in particular? Yeah. Which are the Booming Blade, which is a cantrip that you can pick. And what was the other one? Hold on, let me look it up real quick. It is Shadow Blade, if I'm not mistaken. I wrote it down here somewhere, which is a pretty cool spell. So basically, my character was a gnome, which again, maybe gnome isn't the most optimal choice for a damage dealer, but I liked it. It was a little bit of flavor. They get buffs to dexterity. They get buffs to, I believe, intelligence, charisma, and all that.
Their size surely does some interesting mechanical things.
Sadly, not really. I mean, other than like nerfing their speed, which is another reason why I got mobility later on. They don't really... They don't, and I think even with D&D 1, I mean, maybe the producer will let us talk about that a little bit later on. I think size just becomes flavor. I don't think, I mean, you can choose to be small, you can choose to be medium, It doesn't affect their speed anymore. It doesn't affect or hinder their ACs, their attacks.
Or improve them, which was something that happened when you were small or...
Yeah, back in 3rd edition, I remember if you were smaller, you'd have an easier time hitting larger creatures, and they had a harder time hitting you, which worked out pretty good if you were small. You did less damage. But anyway, so the cool thing I liked about this build in particular was the cantrip that I mentioned, that Booming Blade. Because if you don't know, Booming Blade, you cast it, and while you cast it, you can do a melee attack. You have to use like a finesse weapon to get the sneak attack damage in. So my rogue, I call him Sly McFlourish. That's a sweet
Flourish,
name.
that's a nice name, yes.
McFlourish. You have to have the Mick there, just, a little Mick extra points. So what I would do is, if I had an ally next to the big enemy, then it would be easy just to get the attack of opportunity. I keep saying attack of opportunity, but that's not right in 5th edition. The sneak attack advantage. So you'd hit him with the rapier. You deal rapier damage. By level 13, which is what I have this character at, you would do... I had a magical weapon, so you have an extra point of damage. You add your dex bonus, which in this case, we didn't do a standard point buy. We did like a group throw at the beginning, and I got really lucky with a couple of throws, so Sly has a 20 dex. So you're adding 5 points of damage right there because of the finesse on the rapier. So you got 1 die, you got +5, you got +1 because it's magical. You add your 7 die 6 per attack with sneak attack to the attack. And then Booming Blade is a really cool spell because when you hit the enemy, at lower levels you may not do a lot of damage, but when you hit the enemy, you leave them like with a static charge. And then the cool thing with the rogue is, since you have cunning action and you can disengage as a bonus action, you poke them, you walk away, and if the enemy moves in their next turn, that energy discharges and deals extra damage. But since it's a cantrip, it levels up with your general level, not your spellcaster level. So you're considering it to be a level 13 spell. And at level 13, let me just look at my numbers here again, you were doing 1 die 8 plus dex, plus magic weapon, plus your sneak attack damage, plus the 2 die 8 damage that you would add by using the cantrip. So you're looking at an average of what, maybe 30, 40 points of damage? Average per hit? I think that's a pretty good glass cannon.
So basically you murdered the whole of the campaign, and that's why you did not pay as much, right?
Serious murder hobo action. No, yeah, it was cool. And here's the kicker. I mentioned a spell called Shadow Blade. Shadow Blade, you can actually invoke a weapon made of shadow that deals 2 die 8 psychic damage. And it's considered finesse, so you can add your sneak attack. And you can cast the cantrip while having the Shadow Blade because it's a concentration spell, so you have it during the duration. So you add Booming Blade, you add sneak attack, and if you're in the shadows, Shadow Blade gives you, guess what it gives you? Advantage. So you're practically just stacking it so you always have advantage. You're always dealing...
Unless you're ambushed or something, you're basically always having advantage.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's my perfect glass cannon build is definitely a rogue.
Well, as a counterpart, the guy who would draw attention to himself so finesse can do what he does best, I might build the tank that would be the one that everybody would be looking at while he picks up everybody in the back. What I built was a fighter. I'm not very inspired. So he's a human, and a variant human, to be able to take a couple of feats rather than take the ability increasers, and he took out the Polar Master feat and the Sentinel feat, so he could be able to manage the battlefield by taking extra attacks and prevent movement from the opponents. So that's how we made him, and well, that's basically the idea. He would be running around the battlefield, kind of playing block to the rest of the party. And as a proper tank, he's not as good for everything. He needs the rest of the party to do a lot of damage to help him move everything around. So what's your next build, dude?
All right. I like the feats you chose. Well, like I said, I was going to bring a paladin, and I just let myself go a little bit, and I made the most vanilla-ish type paladin I could think about. And curiously enough, I also chose human variant, so I could get that extra feat at the beginning.
That's delicious.
Yeah, because really, I mean, a paladin, like I mentioned last episode, it's kind of rough to optimize unless you have an OP skill point, pool.
Ability points, you mean?
Yeah, like the buyback or the skill points at the beginning, which is actually what I used. I used the standard DMG point buy at the beginning with 27 points. So, I mean, really, the most I could get was like a 16 strength, a 16 con. I used just intelligence and at 10, dexterity was 10. Who needs dexterity when you're standing in a giant suit of armor, right?
That's what the philosophy of my character as well.
Yeah. So it's very tankish oriented. But I mean, it's cool because, like I mentioned before, Paladin just does everything. They got everything, man. So, I mean, you've got like the basic skills of a Paladin, like Divine Sense. You can tell where evil is, where chaos is, or whatever type of thing you want to look for. They have the Lay on Hands ability that gets better with every level they take. You get more hit points you can redistribute. We also get a fighting style. I chose Protection because I thought it's always cool. I mean, I'm going to have a shield anyway. So if I can defend an ally, I'll do it. You can use your reaction to block or cause a disadvantage on your enemy's attack. Another good option for fighting style, if you're just going to solo it and be defense, is defense, which will give you a +1 on your armor. So obviously I'm imagining my paladin. I brought him up, I think, to like a level 11. I'll put his sheet right here for everybody to see. I'm getting out of the producer. So I'm always envisioning him with full plate, shield. So I mean, if you go with defense and you're rocking 21 AC, which is
reasonable,
that's pretty good, especially for a tank. I mean, like we mentioned before, you do get spell casting. There are some cool spells that you can use as a paladin. There are a bunch of stuff that I would just leave it to the cleric if there's not, if there's a cleric in the group, let him deal with it. And I would use those for extra smites. Just go crazy, man. Do the smite thing. You get Divine Smite. You can add it when you hit. You do the extra damage. We mentioned a little bit about that. Paladins have Divine Health. So he's sturdier than most. We get down to the options for Sacred Oath. There's a lot of cool ones, but I like the Oath of Vengeance. Precisely like I was saying before, you don't have to be the good guy. You can just, I hate this and I want to deal with this and I want to eliminate this. And you take your Oath of Vengeance and that's it. There's no restrictions or anything beyond that, just having to do what you vow. And they have a lot of cool things. The actual spell list for the Oath of Vengeance is pretty cool. They get stuff like Haste, which I thought is pretty cool if you want to go on a frenzied attack.
Or can you cast them for the rest of the party? Let's say.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, you're not going to.
My paladin is very egocentric. He is the face of the group. He is the leader. He is the best one there. He's going to be very obnoxious, like most paladins are. I actually didn't even give him a name. I just wrote Paladin. It's the Paladin.
Oh yeah, I called my samurai Butch, which is
that's a very, very samurai-esque name.
Yes, Butch. Yeah, I don't want to do cultural appropriation by doing a proper Japanese name. I'm messing with you.
Yeah. And the other cool thing that I really like about Sacred Oath is the vow of enmity. Enmity. Words. So it's kind of cool because you can. I'll read it to you so I don't mess it up. You utter a vow of enmity against the creature you see within 10 feet. You use your channel divinity and you gain advantage on attack rolls for 1 minute against that creature. So for 10 rounds of combat, you are just straight up beating up on this one enemy with advantage. You're adding divine smites. You are wreaking havoc on this guy.
And like you said, if the party does need it, you can use your spells as the support role.
Yeah, you can memorize Cure Wounds, but, you're all right. You got 2 hit points left. smite. Just hit them with it.
Of course.
It's also cool because they have an aura of protection. They bolster their teammates like a good utility. They get Relentless Avenger, where they can actually chase down enemies that try to run away from them. Did I mention the feat that I chose?
No.
I also chose Sentinel. If you're going to be a defender, you're going to be blocking and stuff and tank it out. That's one of the best ones. I think another option that I wrote down was probably... oh my God, I forgot what it was. I'll write it down or something later. There were a couple of options, but I think Sentinel was probably my favorite one. And at level 11, you have improved Divine Smite, so you're doing extra damage. You have an extra attack from level 5, so you are just like a one-man
army. Yeah. Yeah, you just need some extra actions to do everything yourself, which, I mean...
Or just get 2 or 3 more paladins and put them all together and have a party of paladins.
That would be interesting. That sounds like a challenge for another time. Build the whole party of paladins. The paladin focus on each of the 3 angles, so to speak.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And I also saw that there was a way to build a paladin and get Booming Blade, which I love from the rogue, but it's a different vow. I forget exactly which vow it is. I think it's Vow of the Royal Order or something, that they have access to certain cantrips, and one of the spells you can get is Booming Blade. So if you wanted to do that and just add that extra damage plus the smite and just go crazy.
You're going not as glassy, but the cannon rune.
Yeah, I'm definitely going high damage, high defense, protect your team, draw the aggro, and if they want to, help themselves, they can get in close and take advantage of your divine aura.
Oh my God, that's horrid. Horrid in the best way possible. I mean.
Well, speaking of horrid, I'm sure you made a wizard or something.
Yes, I made a wizard. Of course, I made a wizard for the support role. This wizard is... I chose the race of Eladrin, the Winter Eladrin, which has a very interesting characteristic. They have a special sort of Fayish teleport they can do. And the Winter Eladrin can cause fright sometimes when they teleport. So... That's your first utility. Even by moving, boo, and you're helping your paladin or your rogue. They're helping them out they're softening up the rest of the enemies. This wizard, like I said on the previous episode, rather than talking about them as damage dealing behemoths, which they can do, wizards can do that, but it's better to think of them as a more situational spell or trying to finish battle in just one spell. So they focus a lot on area spells. He focuses a lot on area spells like Grease, like Web, like Hypnotic Pattern for, like I said, to just finish the battle for a lot of opponents at the same time. Probably it's not going to work for everybody because a lot of these spells have saves. But in the meantime, you can help reduce the menace for the rest of the party. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, save for the Eladrin bit. That's the bit that's a little more flavorful and interesting. And basically, it's more focused on choosing the right spells for this sort of role.
Subclass wizard, subclasses, which one do you like, or what did you choose for the Eladrin? Or is that just open as well, to depending on how the campaign goes? And
yeah, I'd let it open depending on which campaign you would go for. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as you can see, I'm not that mechanic oriented, so I sometimes just let it go a little bit.
You go with the flow.
But it will have a subclass when you download the
That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, as you can see, this party of 4 people. If we had these 4 characters played by obviously different players, or 2 each, which would be a little bit crazy, each of us playing the 2 characters each, could work out in a very decent scenario.
It'd be very interesting to see how it worked.
Yeah, probably your paladin would be at the center, next to my samurai, and the other 2 hiding as much as possible to work with that.
That's cool. You do a lot of damage.
A lot of damage. You do the damage, I'll just help out. which is philosophically speaking my way of being, I guess.
Okay. Well, I think that about wraps it up for today. Do you have any cool, strange, what was the word you used last time? Degenerate class builds that you'd like to share with us? Something that you think would probably take our party on a PvP situation?
Or maybe something that would make the whole chart that we made go overboard, like a support barbarian. I don't know if that's probably possible to build.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. So challenge yourself.
Share it with us. Let us know.
Yeah. And
But I guess we're finishing up now, so we'll have to remind you, as always, to like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends, watch the videos on repeat. No, just let us know what you think, what you'd like to see next, what topics we can talk about, and we will see you next episode.
as always, remember,
Rage responsibly.
Roll the dice!